Legends, welcome back to another Ruck Infringement Podcast team preview. Of course, this week's team preview is the North Queensland Cowboys. And joining me, the sexier half of the NRL casual athlete, my good mate Burgz. How are you, mate?
Good to be here, Joey. Good to be here, mate. We're ready to talk all things Cowboys, and it is getting close to my favourite time of the season. You know, we're not quite there yet, but I am keen to get in some footy. And, this Cowboys side, it's looking pretty interesting this year.
Mate, very interesting, especially from a Supercoach or fantasy point of view if you do play, but we'll get to that a bit later. Mate, let's start with the ins and outs for 2025. Now, going through the list here, of course, Carl Lawton comes over from the Sea Eagles, Kai O'Donnell from the Lee Leopards in the Super League, Jackson Paulo from the Sea Eagles, and John Bateman from the West Tigers. We jump into these 2025 outs. Finifiaki to the Dolphins, Chatty Townsend to the Chooks, Jake Granville released, Kyle Felt to St. Helens, Valentine Holmes to the Dragons, Tanua Brown retired, and they're the main ones. So, mate, first let's talk about these ins. Now, a couple of really interesting ins there, of course, John Bateman being the big one. A couple of clubs in the past couple of seasons. Are you excited about the prospects of having a player like Bateman in your team?
If you asked me this before Helam Lukey got hurt, I would have said, why the hell are we even doing this? I was so against this move. I think we're a second row of factory. We seem to be producing them at a rapid rate at the moment with Lukey, Nane, Connolly Lemuelu left us as well. And then we had Finifiaki who just left us too. And I was just like, well, the next guy up is Jamal Shibasaki, right? He's a fantastic young prospect for North Queensland and played for Queensland under-19s as well. And I was like, oh, why are we signing John Bateman? But now with Lukey going down, I think we kind of need him to fill that spot. So I am excited to see how he plays. Whether we're going to get Canberra Raiders, John Bateman is always the question.
Yeah.
But I just feel like it might be a little bit too much past the prime there for me. But I'm hoping for the best.
Yeah, absolutely. Mate, let's talk those big losses. Of course, Valentine Holmes, Kyle Felt, probably two of the biggest, your centre and wings, looking like a couple of debutants this year or rookie players that haven't played much NRL. Mate, is it a big void to fill?
Yeah, well, for me, when we signed Val, I was super excited. Not excited about the contract and the money he was on, but what he brought to us was, clutch goal kicking. I think by the end, he was making some really damaging runs. And I just really thought he became the best version of himself. And I think that's what we brought out in him. I thought that the couple of years that he did play for us, on that left edge, he was outstanding. And I think that Val had kind of reached a point in his career where he wanted to try something else, maybe go back to playing with his former coach as well. So obviously got that connection there down with Shane Flanagan at the Dragons. So I don't hold anything against Val. It definitely frees up a bit of cap space for us as well to hold on to some of our younger, more up-and-coming talent. So I'm not too upset about that one. I am from he's a Queensland origin player perspective. Like, you can't go wrong with Val, but I do enjoy that. And the sentimental one for me is Kyle Felt. Kyle Felt brought my team a moment in history that I'll never forget. And that's something that no matter what you think about Kyle Felt's gameplay, his defense, from his finishing ability to some of the tries he scored, and especially the big one in the 2015 grand final, that will never be taken away from me, and that will always be associated with Kyle Felt, to the point I almost considered getting a tattoo of him, that photo of him jumping up in the air after he scored. So, I mean, there's a lot of sentimental value there for Kyle Felt, and I absolutely love the bloke, and I won't hear a bad word about him, no matter what Longy loves to keep ripping into me about every week.
Yeah, lay off, Longy. Mate, I thought you were going to cry on me then. Let's jump into our predicted lineups, 1 to 17 for the Cowboys, heading into round one. Now, if you are listening to the pod for the first time, what we'll do for our predicted lineups is we'll give you the players we think are going to play. If there is an injury, we'll give you an alternative player. But let's start off at the very back. The fullback, Scott Drinkwater. No one really coming for his spot, mate.
Not at all. I mean, the guy I think he's established himself as one of the top 5 fullbacks in the competition as of last year. I think there is a bit of experience lost in this side, and I think Scotty really needs to pick up his game this year, even more than what he was doing last year, which is ridiculous considering he already played every single game for us last year, had a really clean 2024 season, was in and around the Blues squad too. And that's great development for his personal game. I just want to see him become more of a leader on the team rather than that flashy finisher to a play or setting up the play for everyone. I want to see him work on his defense. It's not a big, strong part of his game. And I often think sometimes when people break the line, Scotty's definitely not stopping them. So I think that's one big thing that he needs to pick up on. But other than that, absolutely love Scotty Drinkwater.
He's fantastic. Let's jump into the wingers, mate. Of course, Murray Tulagi on that one side. And then the other side is interesting. It's Kyle Feld's position. It's probably between Braden Burns at the moment and Robert Derby for me. Mate, who are you leaning more towards?
I like Robert Derby just for the youth aspect. I want us to kind of come into this season no hold barred. I don't want to put any pressure on us to be able to, make the 8 or that kind of stuff. But Braden Burns been there, done that. He's been a phenomenal player for a number of reasons. A lot of people don't realize how much work he does out of the backfield, and he's a fantastic Supercoach pickup if anyone wants to pick him up too. So Braden Burns, maybe a bit later on, is a guy that we can talk about for Supercoach. But I just love Robert Derby and the way he plays for PNG. I want to see a bit of that each and every week, and he's just got speed to burn as well, Robert. I think he's one of the fastest guys that we have at the club, so I'd love to see him out there. Probably young and doesn't have enough defense under his belt, but neither did Kyle Felt, and we all know what Kyle Felt did for me.
Well, I've got him in my team mainly because he's very cheap in Supercoach as well. Let's jump into the centres. Of course, another position needing to be filled is that of Valentine Holmes. So enter Jackson Purdue. And of course, on the other side, we have. I just had a
Vialami Vailea.
Oh, yes, Vailea. I was like, who played there last year? Sorry, mate. I'll cut all that part. So Vailea and, of course, Jackson Purdue. Do you have anyone else chasing their spots?
It'd be Zach Laybutt. It'd be the only other one that I would consider there. I actually think he might get into the team over Purdue at this point. I don't know if Purdue is an out-and-out center. More of a fullback 5'8" player for me. So it'd be Laybutt. It'd be the only other one I'm considering there. Vailea was outstanding for us last year when he came in. Wasn't the biggest fan of it again. But, thought he held his own quite well.
Yeah, that's it. Mate, we'll jump into the halves, of course. Your 5'8", Tommy did. And your 7 will be interesting. No Chad Townsend now. Jake Clifford, we know, can play there. And, of course, young Tom Duffy as well. Who are you leaning more towards for your halfback?
This is no question for me. I have been wanting this bloke to play for the last couple of years, actually. And Tom Duffy has to be our 7 to start round 1. I don't care about Jake Clifford and what he did when he came back. I think I actually read a very interesting stat last year, and as you know, I do love my stats, Joey. And I read into Jake Clifford's record as a North Queensland Cowboy, and he has a 30% win rate as a Cowboy.
Wow.
And yes, he came in and played quite well, but I think the scars are already there for that. I think he's always been a better backup halfback than he is a starting halfback. He's never been able to really lock down a spot at other clubs as well. Had to go over to the Super League at one point. So I just think he's there for sentimental value once again, because I think our Townsville faithful love Jake Clifford, and it's his home. But I think Tom Duffy, it's his time, and possibly another guy that we might be talking about in some fantasy sports as well.
Absolutely, mate. Let's jump into the front row. Of course, Jordan McLean and Cohen Hess, I think, will be there in the starting front row. And I've got my number 9 as, of course, the ever-reliable Reece Robson. Is there any different there?
The front row is disgusting for me. I honestly just think we can do a bit better. I don't. Yeah, I know I'm slamming my own team, but we re-signed Jordan McLean, and I was like, no. Just let him go. He's not doing anything for us. Like he plods the ball up and he takes a little soft little carry and then just hits the floor. Cohen Hess is the interesting one because fresh off the back of an ACL injury, I don't really know what he's going to provide for us, but I think a bit more depth would be good. Griffin Neem's probably another one that you could probably throw in there. Been coming on for a couple of years now, and we did lose a front rower, as you said, to medical retirement in Tarnell Brown. Front row is interesting. I don't really see us making much of an impact on a lot of sides. I think we're going to be playing a lot of side-to-side football by the looks of things, and Reece Robson's not going to have much to play off.
Yeah, it'll be good when he comes to the Chooks in 2026. But let's jump into the second row now. Of course, Jeremiah and I will line up there. You mentioned Highland Woogie before, but does have a little injury, so John Bateman probably takes that spot to start with. Mate, do you think there's anyone else really that could be in that second row?
No, apart from the guys that I mentioned before, Jamal Shibasaki and maybe Kai O'Donnell. Maybe. I haven't seen enough of Kai to be able to make a definitive decision on that. I think the other guy maybe searching around the second row or trying to find a spot anywhere in the forward pack is Sam McIntyre for some reason. I'm not a big fan of Sam McIntyre. I know he was great for us last year, but I just think once again it's a little bit low quality than what we want to produce.
Yeah, for sure. And then of course the lock. Ruben Cotter, fantastic player. I love Ruben. I love what he brings to the team. He's fantastic. He'll be the lock there. But, mate, let's jump into a little bit of your bench makeup now. Bench makeup's a real interesting one. Of course, you spoke on Griffin Neem before. I think he'll be there. Jason Tamalalo, possibly. They keep playing him at that 17 role for about 20 minutes every game. Mate, is there anyone on the bench that you can think of that you're excited for? Anyone that's going to make a bit of a difference?
Look, I think that'd be the other signing in Carl Lawton. I like the fact that he can plug second row or hooker, and especially with Reece Robson having origin commitments this year, you would think. We just think that Carl Lawton should be able to slot right into that spot because we did lose Jake Granville as well. I just think that Thomas McKaylee is another guy that also has to be on that bench. I think I loved what I saw from him last year. It wasn't that brilliant for the Tigers, but let's be honest, the Tigers are the Tigers, and I don't think anyone is really shining at the Tigers. Maybe until this year, things might change, but in the past, I'm not really trusting that. So, yeah, guys like John Bateman and McKaylee coming from the Tigers, I don't hold anything against them. It could be a system thing. But, yeah, Griffin Neem will be there, as I said, as well. And JT, Jason Taumalolo, I think it's possible edge of medical retirement stuff. Like that is, he's just got a depreciating knee injury that isn't getting any better. He lost his athleticism a little bit, and that was the thing that made him so potent and so brilliant to watch. It's just gone to the point now where he can't really make those damaging runs anymore. And if he can't do that, then what is he doing in the team? 20 minutes a game just isn't good enough. But yeah, no, I think the bench will be very forward heavy. Let's be honest.
Yeah, which can be good. I mean, we talked about those front rowers before. You probably need someone to get them off the field. But, mate, that's it for our predicted lineups. Let's jump into a bit of a Supercoach / NRL fantasy relevance. We'll go off our Supercoach players today, Supercoach stats, for our good mate Longy over NRL casual athlete. But let's jump into our first player, Scott Drinkwater, 770K. You can play him at fullback. Mate, fantastic premium option. Possibly kicking goals. I saw Tom Duffy kicked a few and was very good as well. Scotty, look, he's not in my team at the moment. I think there's cheaper fullbacks to start the year, but definitely one if you want to go big early on. Not a bad option. He's got great job security. Probably not going to play Origin either. Mate, is he in your team?
Yeah, I do have him on the bench, Scotty Drinkwater. So he's actually in my reserves at the moment. I actually loaded up quite a lot at fullback just because I feel like it's so important to have some of your biggest scorers on the team. And I feel like fullback has the biggest opportunity to do so. And that's why I've actually gone with 3 fullbacks in my team, 1 at fullback, 1 at flex, and then one at reserves as well. So I think that, Scotty is possibly one of the guys that's less risky to take in there. You could take a Turbo, you could take a Latrell and maybe wait, especially in draft. But yeah, I think if you're looking around that round 7 mark, you probably will be looking to get Latrell in depending on fixtures. But that's the thing about Scotty Drinkwater, big fixture guy. tends to love dominating the left-hand side defense as well. So look out for that. And if he, because he's a left-handed passer, left-handed kicker, so he throws left-handed, and that's why Kyle Feld had such success. So then, therefore, you'd be looking at a guy like either Derby or Braden Burns to cash in on that as well.
Oh, very nice, mate. Let's move down the list a bit now. Player I want to talk about, Thomas Dearden, probably not one for classic, but on a draft point of view, definitely. I actually put him in my draft team. We did a little draft with some other Supercoach content creators recently, and I picked him up in draft, and I'm quite happy about it. You know, he's going to play 80 minutes most weeks. Will probably play Origin, but that is a worry, but I can just swap him out there. But, yeah, probably a draft one for me. But, mate, one I want to talk to you about, Reece Robson. Now, 590K, hooker. He's been very Supercoach and fantasy relevant the past couple of seasons. Again, job security is fantastic. 80 minutes, will play Origin. Well, possibly will play Origin. We don't know for sure. But, mate, Reece Robson, any interest there?
Yeah, I picked him up in draft as well. I think that's because the hooker position is very skinny this year, especially. I'm struggling to find hookers outside of Harry Grant. Damien Cook got a little bit of risk there with Little being so potent last year. And then guys like Coruscant might get better. And then you're looking at maybe a Blake Brayley to get a bit better with Adam Fanua-Blake coming in. So you might want Blake Brayley if you want to take that chance. But Reece is a consistent player. I think the one thing that has gone from his game that did make him, a better Supercoach pickup in earlier seasons of his career was the cheeky try out of dummy half. He doesn't like to do it as much anymore. And as much as I used to hate it, I was like, oh, that's such boring football. But it actually ate into his Supercoach points a lot more and his Supercoach average. So I think that Reece is going to be consistent for you. And there's definitely, I would take him in draft. It's about where you take him, though. And I just think in Classic, not a guy I'm going for. I would find a way to get Harry Grant into your team.
Yeah, for sure. Or there are a lot of cheap options this year as well. Pistol Pete, Sandon Smith, of course, can play there too. A lot of people going Connor Watson as well. So definitely lots of options there. Yeah, for sure. Let's move down the list a little bit now. John Bateman, interesting one there. Second row, 522K. I know in NRL Fantasy, a lot of people have been high on getting him in NRL Fantasy. He's not in either of my Supercoach or fantasy teams. Mate, any interest from you?
I'll tell you, there's one bloke on our channel who loves John Bateman, and it's not me. So I'm going to throw my boy Longy under the bus here. He absolutely loves John Bateman, but I think he's in love with the idea of 2016, 2017 John Bateman, and that was 9 years ago now, when you think about it. And I just think that he spent a bit of time away. He maybe forgot how hard the NRL is and came back, I think, a bit undersized as well. And it didn't really translate to him having a successful stint back at the Tigers. I know he wanted to help as much as possible, and he was committed to coming back. Like, I was very surprised that he even came back to Australia. Especially to North Queensland. I mean, who would deal with that humidity? But being from England. But I mean, for me, he's not in my side. I think there are better second rowers out there that you can get for around the same price range.
Yeah, completely agree. Mate, I want to move down the list quite a bit now to some cheapies. If we head to Jackson Purdue, of course, centre wing, 257K. Now, we've spoken before, Zach Labour will be his only issue there. Otherwise, I think it's Purdue's spot to lose. Look, he's in my team at the moment just as a cheapie on my bench. I don't have him named as an emergency, but I've got to get a cheap option in there. Mate, are you going to put Purdue in your team?
He's already in there, mate. He's definitely in there. I've got a few. I've literally got 3 rookie centre wingers at my reserve spot. Going really cheap. Might not reveal who those guys are, but Purdue is definitely one of them. And I just think that with the, conjecture of who's going to get that position, of the two, as to what I've seen from both, I think Purdue is the more damaging attacking player. And with Supercoach really rewarding attacking stats, that's where you're probably going to get a bit more value out of a guy like Purdue compared to a Labour.
Yeah, for sure. Mate, moving down again, Robert Derby, centre wing, 214K. If he does land that spot, that is very, very juicy. He'll be a great a cash maker for you. Should get upwards of 200K, in my opinion, if he does play the first, let's say, 10 rounds. But, mate, any interest there in Derby?
I'd have to wait for NRL team lists to come out on Tuesday for that one. I just can't at the moment put him in there. I think there are some better options, and even I would say cheaper options that you could go with. For Derby, with Braden Burns being still around the team and especially getting the starting spot in that trial match, it just kind of signaled to me that Derby really is a little bit on the outer. Not as much as Semi Valame, who's still at the club, but he's definitely in the second position for that winger spot. But yeah, I can't give it to Derby just quite yet.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Of course, the next one, Tom Duffy, halfback, 198K in Supercoach. Now, if he does land that halfback role, everyone should have him in. This kid will end up with 100% ownership if he does land the starting 7. Mate, he's in my team currently. Is he in yours?
Absolutely, he's in there, mate. Yeah, I almost might start him. I love him that much.
Wow.
I've got Trindle and Metcalf running in my halves. I did avoid the big Nathan Cleary, Hines.
Wow.
A bit of a different strategy from me, but I think that Duffy possibly going to be a bit more of a fantasy pickup purely because fantasy rewards kick meters, and Dearden doesn't do a lot of kicking. And as we saw, I think in that trial game, Duffy was doing all the kicking, long range kicking, and then also I think Duffy will be in the team purely because he will be the goal kicker as well. Has kicked goals for the Blackhawks the last couple of years as well, and I just think that he needs to be in the team because I think he kicks goals about a 78% clip. So that's what I want.
He's a fantastic option. Now, of course, that is it for our Supercoach NRL Fantasy Chat. As you can see, if you're watching the YouTube, Supercoach comp code is there, 215716. And, of course, our NRL Fantasy comp code, PCDNXS7S. I will throw those in our description on YouTube and Spotify. And don't forget, you can join at any time. We're playing for some incredible rings from our sponsors, SC Rings, championship rings there that look incredible. So make sure you check them out as well on all social media. But, mate, let's jump into the Cowboys and their 2025 season, where we think they may end up. Now, for me, I'm a bit worried about your Cowboys this year. I think losing the experience of Val Holmes, felt with his try-scoring ability, I think it leaves a massive hole. You spoke about those front rowers before being a bit wide on, and I think age has really caught up on players like Jordan McLean. Mate, where do you see your Cowboys finishing this year? Is it positive?
I think it's positive from where everyone has them. I think everyone has them as possibly a bottom 4 team. And had you asked me before the trial game against the Storm, I know it's a trial game, and maybe the Storm, we're putting in a lot of players to see what may work, and some guys are fighting for positions there. I actually think we're going to finish just outside the 8 in 11th. That's where I've got us pegged at the moment. I don't see us having the experience to win close games. That's the big thing for me. But I do see us having the attacking upside to put on massive scores against teams. I just think our defensive efforts, especially in the middle, and it told a lot in that Sharks finals fixture last year that they just tore us up down the middle. And we were constantly, it felt like we were on the back foot. And I see that happening a lot again this year. If we come up against some bigger teams, that we're going to really struggle with other teams' power game to be able to halt it. We're going to be relying on errors and things like that. And it's not a way I want to win games. I want to be able to get on the front foot. But I feel like we're going to want to play some very free, fast attacking football, because it's going to be the whole ideology of our side is going to be based on the way Scott Drinkwater plays. That's the way it's going to be the identity of our side if we're going to win games. And I think that it's almost going to be touch footy at times, but our defense is definitely going to struggle, and that's why we're going to end up where we are in 11th, I would say.
Yeah, I've got you around the same, 11 for 12. I just think, as you mentioned, they're going to struggle a little bit in that sense. It's going to be really good to see these young blokes coming through, Tom Duffy, Jackson Purdue, Robert Derby and the likes. I think that is one very positive thing for the Cowboys for 2025 is we'll get to see a lot of young guys who are going to be superstars in the future, barring injury. But yeah, I've just got them just missing out on the top 8. I think Todd Payton's too good of a coach to be bottom 4. I think it's definitely in that 11 to 12 position for me. But look, let's jump into the final part of our team preview for tonight. It's our dynamite player for round 2025. For those listening for the first time, we'll give you a dynamite player. It can be a rookie or a player who's been at the club for 10 plus years, and we will tell you why they're going to explode this season. Mate, do you have a dynamite player for us?
Yeah, and it's a guy that we've talked a bit about on this podcast tonight, and I'm going with Tom Duffy. Wanted to see this kid in a first grade side for the Cowboys for a number of years now. As I said, dynamite goal kicker, great playmaker, and I think that him coming in with an experienced Dearden now to have his back more than anything is going to be crucial. I think Chad Townsend, the one thing that he did do when he left the club was really give Dearden the kind of confidence that he can lead a team. And then that's now what Dearden's doing. He's our captain as well. And I feel like he's going to try and take Duffy under his wing as much as possible. I think he's almost ready for that. The amount of maturity that Dearden's shown as a 25, 24-year-old is outstanding, and I think Duffy can only learn from that, being a couple of years his junior. So Duffy to create a great connection as well with Drinkwater on that right side. It's going to be lethal, and he'll also have Jeremiah Nene backing him up as well. Could be a little bit lacking in the defensive department, having Nene, who's probably not the best second rower defensively, next to him. Is probably not going to help him in the interim. But I just really think that Todd Payton needs to stick with him and really just say he's our halfback for the future. Let's just keep it going and not chop and change combinations like the Knights did last year, because it just doesn't work.
Yeah, for sure, mate. I've actually got that man you just spoke about, Scotty Drinkwater. For me, I think this is the year of Scotty D. He has to stand up. I think with the loss of Holmes and, of course, Kyle Felt, I think Scott Drinkwater can make this team even better than what he's already done. I see him going to just a new level in 2025. I see Scott Drinkwater just really, really taking off, being that playmaker that sort of that third playmaker, as you said, to help out Duffy, to help out Dearden. I just see Drinkwater going to new heights. But that is it for our Dynamite player, and that is it for our North Queensland Cowboys team preview. I'd like to thank Burgz for jumping on. Of course, don't forget, head over to our social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X. Check us out. Also check out NRL, The Casual Athlete, on all social media as well. Some awesome little episodes going on your YouTube now as well, mate. Check us out on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And don't forget to check out our Supercoach and NRL Fantasy comps. Of course, the codes are in the description on YouTube and Spotify there. So jump in. There's plenty of time. And check out our sponsors as well. Jersey Kings, Stay Fancy Eyewear, Gibson's Country Style Jerky, SC Rings, TBC Live, and, of course, Sportsheadz too. We like to thank everyone for getting involved, and we really appreciate you. Until next time, that's Burgz. I'm Joey. Be good.